The metronome is often misunderstood and misused, and maybe even abused.
What?
I'm going to show you 5 effective ways to use it so you actually improve. The first way doesn't involve a piano at first. This is if you're looking to increase your ability to stay with the clicks and keep a steady tempo in general. Turn the metronome on to something comfortable, like 72 beats per minute, and simply clap with the clicks. Your goal is to try to make that click disappear because you're clapping right on top of that click. Once you can do this, begin counting out loud in 4 and focus on the pulse so it's not just a mindless click happening over and over. Each beat has a job. Beat 1 is the strongest, beat 2 is weak, beat 3 is the second strongest, and beat 4 is leading us to the next beat 1 in the next measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Level 2 of this is to clap and walk around to the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Level 3 is to finally play something easy at the piano with the metronome. Try just a simple 5-finger pattern with clicks on each note, one hand at a time. Then try hands together. I've had students not even realize that they're not playing with the clicks, so listen and internalize that pulse. The second way to practice with the metronome is for general control. I like to think of this as laying the foundation of a piece. I usually learn the notes and rhythm of a new piece without using the metronome at all. But when I have those things in place, I like to set my metronome to a comfortable tempo and then play through the piece to see if everything is as it should be. When I do this, I notice places that I'm rushing or slowing down unconsciously, where the fingering I've chosen just really isn't working out, or even rhythmic mistakes that I've made when learning it. When these things arise, I take the time to work through them, play with them, practice it until the foundation is laid exactly how the blueprint or the score indicates. And all of this is setting me up to have maximum control, which allows me to eventually play it how I want. The third way to use the metronome is for testing your memory, or I suppose for testing your general ability to play a piece technically well. Whenever we introduce an external factor like playing in rhythms or counting out loud, we make it more difficult to play. When we take away that external factor, the piece feels much easier. The metronome is a great external factor because it is persistent and it always demands your attention. To test your memory of a piece, try slow, medium, and up to speed tempos for memory, of course. To add another external factor, count out loud with the metronome as you play from memory. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. And rather than going from beginning to end this way, I like to split my piece up into sections and then work backward. So start in the last section, turn on the metronome to a very slow tempo, and count out loud and play from memory. So if there are any memory slips, of course, go back, first turn off the metronome, and look at the score, see where you had the memory slip, study it, practice it more, and then try again, and then keep working backwards. There are many ways to get better at a piece: repetition, listening to someone else play it, practicing in rhythms, microsection practicing, and just plenty of other drills that you can do. And using the metronome can be a great tool to add to your arsenal. One of my favorite ways to practice with the metronome is to have it click on the off beats. So if you're playing a piece with mostly quarter notes or longer, have it click on beats 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. If you're working on a piece with eighth notes or anything else that requires subdivision, have it click on the and of each beat. This makes the external factor that we were talking about even more challenging, and it highlights common places that we tend to rush. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Another thing you can try is setting the metronome to click on the beat and the subdivision. So whatever your normal tempo, set the metronome to twice as fast so it's clicking all of those subdivisions. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. The final way to use the metronome is just simply as a quick reference. You might have noticed that there are often metronome marks or ranges at the beginning of pieces. Now, those marks might have come from editors and not the actual composer, so always take it with a grain of salt. But they can at least give you an idea of the general mood and tempo. As a bonus, if you want to make no progress at all, put the metronome on and just always play with it. But seriously, there are days when I truly do not feel like practicing. On these days, I think it's okay to simply go through the motions, and sometimes I do just turn the metronome on and robotically play. At least my fingers are moving, and at least I'm staying consistent. Not every day has to be an amazingly efficient and musical practice day. As long as you get to the piano, go through the motions, keep up that habit, I think that's the most important on some days. And you never know, after a couple minutes of that, you might find that motivation and that spark and make it a great practice day anyway. To sum up, the metronome is a useful tool for every musician. It helps the most when we know why we're using it. So rather than randomly turning it on because we think that's what we're supposed to do, set your metronome intention before you use it, set a time limit with the metronome, and then get to work.